Hey Skulls and Shadows, welcome back to another episode of Podcast from the Twilight World. 2020 will go down in history for a lot of us as a difficult year. Lots of changes, lots of uncertainty, and there's a lot of negative things to focus on. However, join us this episode as Mário Bernardo and I, a good friend of ours and pillar of the Blind Guardian community, go through the top 5 greatest things to come out of 2020 for Blind Guardian fans, and there was a lot of them. So it's hard to scale it down to just 5. So let's end this year, or I guess this month, with a reflection of the positives to come out of 2020, but also to look towards the future. We wait for a new tomorrow. I'm so excited to bring you this episode, and I hope that you too can see the positives that came out of 2020 and look at it fondly. Take the good with the bad. Without further ado, welcome, my friends. Hello, Guardians of the Blind and Travelers in Time, and welcome. I, as always, am your humble bard, and we bring a familiar face, our good friend, Mário Bernardo. Mário, welcome, my friend.
Hello, guys. I'm really happy to be back.
Well, welcome back, man. We love to have you, dude. What are we talking about today, Mário?
Today we have a great topic. We're going to talk about all the cool things that happened with Blind Guardian during the last year. We all know it was a hard year for most of us, but there was some pretty cool things Blind Guardian last year. So we're going to discuss that so we can remember that in the end, even though there was some really bad things, 2020 was a great year for Blind Guardian fans.
Absolutely. You're 100% right, man. So many cool things. Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. And of course, I think there's 2 questions people are going to be asking about this. Why this? You just summed it up perfectly, man. It was a hard year, but I think 2021, there's been a lot of great stuff that happened last year, specifically for us, the bards. And the other question I think people might ask is, why so late? As Mário can confirm, opportunity knocks just once. And we had the chance to talk with Oliver Halsworth. I think that was, so obviously we put him to the front, and I think it was worth it. We got some good stuff there. So check that video out if you haven't already checked out the episode. Mário, let's kick things off, my friend. So number 5 on our list. The 5th one, the omens of the future. So 2 things I want to talk about on this. First of all, Mário, the hype around the 2021 album. We got a lot of stuff this year, man. Let's talk about it.
Yes, I'm really hyped about it. It's been a while since like a fresh Blind Guardian only. We had like Legacy of the we have the orchestral album. We had like new Blind Guardian stuff coming lately. But the 4 guys together, working together, releasing new material, this is gonna happen this year. It's already happening, but they're delivering now. So it's a great year. I'm really hyped about it. I know they're about to release it in the end of the year. And one cool thing I think about it about there's a lot of people that wanted that kind of back to roots Blind Guardian, that not so much orchestral Blind Guardian. And one thing that this whole crappy 2020 brought us is that since they couldn't go to Prague to record with orchestra and all this stuff, they had like, okay, we have the 4 of us, let's make the best with the 4 of us. So I'm really hyped about this new album. And you how do you feel about it? How are you expecting these new sounds to come?
Honestly, man, like you said, I personally loved Legacy of the Darklands. a lot of the fan base was divided on it, right? Like I know lots of people who, there was lots of people who were singing its praises. It was everything we asked for, everything we were hoping for since way back when. I went through that whole thing in the first episode. Like, obviously, Mario and we're big fans of the orchestral album, but a lot of people were divided on it, and we haven't had any Blind Guardian in like the metal traditional sense since 2015. Honestly, I think the other great thing about it, all the stuff that happened this year with the recording of the 2021 album, is all the anticipation, right? We had the pictures from the, the studio recordings. We had some great interviews and found out some of the stuff is going to be related to the, what is that, the Arclight, something like that. I think it's the Stormlight Archives.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the one,
Stormlight
right?
Archive. Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah, exactly, right. So Stormlight Archives. Now we know kind of an idea of the material. I haven't personally read the book, but anytime a new Blind Guardian album comes out that has a new novel, you got to pick it up though for the collection, right? The library's got to be complete, right?
Exactly. I'm reading it right now. They're huge books. It's kind of even kind of scary because like it's right now. It's at the fourth book. The writer Sanderson said it's going to be a 10-book saga, and each book is about 1,200 pages long. So, but they are so good. They are so good. You really enjoy them. I'm halfway through the first book, and I'm really loving it. And Blind Guardian, all the band members, especially Marcos and Hansi, they really love this book. So I'm really hyped that they always bring something more than just music. They bring, as you said, the whole library has to grow a little bit, like.
Well said, man. And obviously, we're hyped for the album coming out in 2021. But another great thing about the future of what it holds for Blind Guardian that we found out last year, the upcoming shows. Now, before we get into it too much, Mario, you know this better than anybody, but I think one of the most important reasons this needed to be on the list this year is it's a beacon of hope for a lot of people. Like myself, you said in our last episode, our last talk we had, you had pointed out that you see a ton of concerts a year. I know, like I normally see between 8 and 12 typically in a year. And now we went from, having all this stuff planned normally for summer or fall where I live. Normally summer or fall is concert season. We lost all that this year. So the fact that Blind Guardian has a list of shows laid out and they haven't been canceled yet, that's the key thing. Still to this date, as of the date of recording, January 18th.
Yeah.
It still hasn't been canceled. So now, Mario, you know some things about this. You're pretty excited about it. Why don't you tell us about it, man?
Yes. I'm pretty hyped about those concerts. Even though they're only in Germany, but it's a chance to see them live. And the good thing about not seeing as many concerts last year is that we had the chance to save some money. So I got a few tickets. How
many tickets you got there, Mario?
There are 8 tickets, but you gotta split them in 2 because it's me and my wife. So it's not all those concerts. And the bad thing about it is because they are replaying what they did with Imaginations. They're playing the whole Summer Far Beyond album. So we have like the chance of seeing those really rare songs that you're not gonna see normally, and like when in your lifetime do you, beside the whole Summer Far Beyond tour itself, would you expect to listen to Black Chamber again? So, and I think what they did with that it's really special because it's exactly what you said. It's a beacon of hope. They're just like, okay, guys, let's start with something small. Let's play some songs everybody knows and will make people happy. But let's take small steps. Let's just it's in the end of the year, like it's in September. So, okay, by then everything will be all right, but you have something to wait for, like there's one of our friends called Comet. She's a girl from France, and she even set up an Instagram account that counts every day. How many days to the beginning of the tour, of the new Blind Guardian tour? And it's so nice, like, because we have something to wait for. We have something to long for.
Exactly. And so many stuff been canceled already, like down here, since that was announced last year. Has not been the case for Blind Guardian. And honestly, like you said, we've had time to save up this time. And on top of it, you know, it's in the homeland of Blind Guardian as well. There's always a different atmosphere, I'm told. Now, you touched base on it already, but this is going to be the Somewhere Far Beyond tour. Last year, something else happened. And that brings us to number 4, the 25th anniversary of Imaginations from the Other Side, which we got a new release for. Mario, what are your thoughts on this one, man?
Well, as they say, show, don't tell. So I'm gonna show what are my thoughts about it, because the same way I could save some money, I could spend some money with those, and I got the yearbook. Actually, it's not just the yearbook; it's the case, the special box, and the vinyl. And I must say, when normally bands do those kind of things, people feel like, oh, they're just trying to make a few bucks. You know, they're just pushing some old material, something they already have, like just remixing. But it's not that. You feel the love with this. You know, like they really wanted to celebrate this, which is my favorite Blind Guardian album of all time. You know, and bringing us a full live record of the album. And in the yearbook you have also the remastered version and the instrumental version, and also a Blu-ray for the video of the concert, and the whole material is so great. You feel that they really gave themselves there. They were not just like, okay, let's make a few bucks here. You know, they really wanted something special to celebrate. This box is wonderful. I don't know if you can see it. It's like a 3D logo.
Right. I noticed that too. Like I haven't seen it this close yet, because unfortunately December was not my month for it. I got the live album, which the regular album, which I'm still waiting for, of course.
Yeah, I just got mine on the mail. You were like, oh, let's record. I was, oh my God, I really wanted that the album to be here, and it got like 2 days ago.
And the thing about it is too, like you said, like they could have just, they have all the masters of the remaster, right? All the stuff they just listened, they could have literally done it, but we have, this is, for those that don't know, this isn't a re-release of the album. This is the Oberhausen show. And 4 demos, which we didn't get on the vinyl version of the re-release, right? What did we get off that one? We got
Imaginations, A Past and Future Secret, Script from a Requiem, and there's another one. Let me check here, please. Sorry.
Yeah, of course. No, and it's amazing, because honestly, they could have just done
I'm alive.
See, there you go, right? I mean, the demo of that, I think I mentioned that actually when I was talking with Fleming Rasmussen. The demo of that is one of my favorites. And he had mentioned, if I'm remembering right, I know he said Past and Future and the title track were some of the tightest demos he had ever heard, because the band already came with most of it released by the time they came to him, right? I think it's really cool that we got a live album out of it. It's not just a repackage, right? This is a chance to listen to a live album front to back, and one that has sort of a purpose. Like lots of times the hard part about live albums, Blind Guardian never has this issues, because they're very careful about their live albums. But how often do we get a live album from a different band that is just the same songs? You know what I mean? It's always the same. It's got to have the hits on it, blah, blah. Never like that with Blind Guardian. And this is completely unique from other Blind Guardian live songs in the sense that, or live albums, because it actually has, front to back, cover to cover, right? So rare.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's and also, I don't know if I told you that, but with Legacy of the Darklands, we had a little issues with the vinyl release. They were popping a little bit, so the band, as always, doing like being the great guys they are, they sent us new copies for those who had problems with the vinyls and stuff. And this one, which is the next vinyl release they had, man, I never heard such a perfect audio in a vinyl before. Not a single pop. I put it and I had to check it again. Oh, is this on? Like before the album started, because whenever you put a vinyl on the player, it's like
you get the hiss.
And you couldn't.
Yeah.
And you couldn't hear a thing. Like only when the album started. So they learned that. That's one thing I really love about Blind Guardian. They're always evolving. So they learn from what went wrong. They improve what they did good, and they keep on making that. And also what you said about the demo versions, my favorite Blind Guardian song is one of my favorites, but I must say that Script from a Requiem, the demo, it's perfect. Like you have like almost a minute and a half of extra material, like in that song, the demo version. So you have that on vinyl. It's really for the fans, And one thing, that album really went sold out really fast. I never saw such thing happen before with them.
I think a lot of people, looking forward to that release, and it's well thought out, well produced, and obviously from what you're saying, they were careful about that quality issue they had with Legacy of the Darklands. Because I know Hans Peter was the first time I think I saw that. He had mentioned it on his, and Nuclear Blast. Like I reached out to them instantly. They didn't even they asked me to record it, and I went to go and record it. And I couldn't fit it in the email. They didn't even want to see it. They just said, yeah, you know what? We'll send you one right away. And they sent me the black vinyls. And, there was no problems with it. But the fact that they paid shipping, they did all that stuff. You didn't even have to worry about it. You didn't have to send back the old version. Very, very good customer service, in my opinion. And it shows how much they respect Blind Guardian. And I think that's super awesome, too.
That's great to see when the band you love is in a label that really understands their work and works with them, not against them. We saw many great bands having problems with their labels and having to release things they don't want to and doing things that hurt the soul of the band. And it's not this thing that's happening. The box set was Nuclear Blast website only, but the yearbook you can find it on it by itself. But the yearbook itself is already perfect. It's gorgeous. The other is just the box. It's a great thing. There's just jigsaw puzzle. You have like the album cover signed by the band. It's like those great things. But the yearbook itself, you have all the material, and you have all the discs, even the Blu-ray. So it's perfect. It's already a great addiction.
Maybe the answer to this, because you're a large fan of Imaginations from the Other Side. But the only time I've seen this album cover was in the Japanese. You recall the Japanese release had the white background, right? Is that the only? This is the first time we've gotten that on vinyl, isn't it? So it's on top of it too. You aren't just you're getting the art, you're getting all that. Imagine going to see Blind Guardian and getting them to sign a white cover. You don't need a fancy pen for it to show up, man. All you need is a basic Sharpie in order to make this work. You know what I mean?
Yes.
How many times are you just excited to go and get your stuff signed, and you get it signed and it's on something dark, and you can't really see the autograph that well, right? But for real, it's brilliant because the loot itself has so much detail that when you're looking at the Imaginations album cover, you got the picture in the background, you got Camlin spread out in the background, you've got the little figurine, you've got the open book, you've got like there is a ton of info on that cover. To just see the loot, you could easily have missed that. So it's nice to have it kind of plain to contrast your already. The album version, which we everyone already got, whether it was the first pressing or whether it was the re-release a couple years ago, right? So
exactly.
No, there's one.
You can really feel that. Exactly. Those little details, as you just mentioned, is what makes it so special. They could just re-release it, and I know I would buy it, and you would too. But they're not. Of course, they need money to pay their bills, but it's not just after that.
And this year especially, a lot of artists, touring is the main way, I guess. PSA moment, bards. So listen up for this part. these guys, like all the bands right now that you know and love, even if you're not exclusively Blind Guardian fans like, Mario and I, even if you're just fans of music in general, the way people make music now, or the way people make money at music now, is through touring. When you can't tour, when you can't sell your merch, they need those online sales even more than usual. So, I would urge you at this point to go and take a look at Blind Guardian's website. Go and take a look at whatever merch they have available. Try not to buy through the secondary vendors, and if you can help it and you're okay with the shipping, go to their main store, because honestly, less of it goes to them whether you go through Nuclear Blast. So you always want to go through their main store. But that's the only PSA.
That's perfect, and it's really something we have to keep in mind right now. I know some now with the whole streaming stuff, people think, oh, okay, if I just listen it through this platform I like, they will make some money. No, they're not. They're making, like, even a very big band like Blind Guardian is not making much. So when everything's back, please support your local bands, support all the bands you love. And as you already said, like, if you like those bands, go to their websites, buy anything. You're not helping just the music you love to keep. They keep making their music, but you're helping their families and the whole production team. You have a lot of families and people depending on that. So it's a really important time for us to really show the love we have for the music. And it's really nice for you to say that.
Well said, man. And you know what? Even outside of just getting a killer album, and a killer live version of this album, like I said, Blind Guardian, when they pick a live album, there's only been three, right? Yeah, Tokyo.
Yes.
Yeah, there's only been 3 so far. Before this, none of them are going to have the same, the same feel. Like, they rarely ever repeat songs on live albums ever. So,
exactly.
You're going to want to pick this one up because you're not going to get another chance to hear Script, maybe, or whatever you want to hear live, probably again for a long time, if ever. You know what I mean?
Also, you have the whole feeling of hearing those songs back to back. Those you have the whole the studio album already have this feeling of telling a whole story from beginning to end, and you have they performing those songs are great. Go after. We're gonna have a blast.
And of course, there's one other great thing that came from the Imagination's 25th anniversary, and it's going to lead us right into our number 3 spot on this one: the Imaginations from the Other Side Song Contest. Mario.
Oh, that was great. That is right now while we're recording. This is still happening. Because they had so many submissions, and man, that was like the greatest idea the band had ever. Because I couldn't believe there's so many creative stuff. Even those who played like the basic song, like the regular basic song, following, not changing anything. We had a blast watching it, seeing how people try to perform, and people like showing how they love the band by using the same guitars and trying to mimic the all these little bits of complex guitar solos and stuff. But then you have like the extreme opposite, like the guys making jazz versions
and disco remixes.
And that Italian dude who makes like a whole comedy video saying how he will create that.
Yeah, man. How to create it with no talent, right? Yes. Yeah, actually,
exactly.
I would have to say, like, as far as the funniest entry, I would have to rank that one pretty darn high. I mean, I did like, there was one that was done. I mean, the techno dance one was pretty hilarious too. But the how to play Blind Guardian without talent has to be right up there on my list for the funniest ones. For my favorite one, like, I think, and I'm going to ask you this too here in a second, I think for my favorite one, I have to go with, so far, the Acoustic Guardian one. I know it's kind of cliche because, friends with Chris, but honestly, it's just such a hauntingly beautiful version of Born in the Morning Hall. Like, I can't say enough good things about it. And there was also a cool one that was done. Did you see the one that was done? It was also Morning Hall, but it was done in 10 styles. So they did it like Iced Earth, and they did it like Iron Maiden, and they did it, like a bunch of different ways, right? Now, Mario, what's your favorite entry so far in that contest, man?
Oh, I gotta say, I double you with the Acoustic Guardian, and also it's not because we know them, but because we know that they've been doing this kind of thing way before any call from Blind Guardian. Chris devotes his work to create different versions for the Blind Guardian songs. So like I really love his entry, and also he's making one for Curse of Fëanor, and I'm really eager for that. You know, I'm like, yeah, he really
one of the best songs off Nightfall.
Yes,
one of the best songs. One of the reasons I fell in love with Blind Guardian. Honestly, it's a huge undertaking for him too, because that song is probably one of the heaviest tracks on the album. To do it acoustically is so bold, right?
And we know he's going to make a great work. We know that.
You know, I'm interested to hear how Nadia handles that vocally, because it's quite, you know, she's got such a clear voice. It's such an aggressive track. I'm beyond excited to see what they do with that one as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's one of the coolest things, because like when Blind Guardian released this contest, like a lot of fans we see popping up a lot of different interpretation, a lot of the different ways people enjoy and understand Blind Guardian. And that was really great to see all these different kind of fans. You know, like it's not just metalheads playing guitars. No, like all kinds of people that really love their song. They're not just like, okay, I see this band is doing this contest, let's try it. No, they already knew the song. No one can learn and make a video with this fast for such complex songs, you know. And one of my favorites, also behind Acoustic Guardian, I don't remember the name of the guys, but they did like this jazzy version. And I found, like, I believe it was Born in a Morning Hall too, because I believe the themes of the lyrics are more down to earth, so it's really easier for you to change the music, you know, like they don't call so much for power metal. And they did this jazzy thing with snapping and stuff like that, and I was like, man, I could show this to anyone and they will never know it's originally a metal song, you know.
Absolutely. And you know, I think if I was to say, and I'm going to ask you this too, I'm not sure, what do you think is the best thing that came from this contest, Mario?
Oh, the best thing for me was to see Blind Guardian all the time, you know. Like, we could
you're right.
And you have, like, I don't watch much television. In my television, normally I'm just watching YouTube videos, and you have like this whole algorithm. So from now and then you're watching this thing and the other, and then like pop up a new Blind Guardian cover. You're like, oh, let me check this. So you had like this whole new things coming and going all the time, and friends talking to each other. Oh, have you seen this one? Oh, this one is my favorite, and people talking about. So it was really interesting.
Absolutely, man. And same for me here. I think that the best thing this contest did was bring even more fans together. And I mean, that's what a lot of things, you know, a lot of Blind Guardian fan stuff, the podcast included, you know, try and do is bring everybody closer together, you know, bring us in contact with other, you know, other bards, other friends, all that kind of stuff. And I feel like the contest was the perfect entry for someone who might not have listened to Blind Guardian, but if this weird jazz version or this, you know, this French techno version is just hanging out in their newsfeed, they're like, oh, that's kind of cool. What is that? And then they find out it's Blind Guardian. Bam, you got yourself a bunch of new people, and it's so much more accessible to lots of people who might not even listen to metal if they hadn't have heard it, right? Like, you know, like Buxa, obviously you're friends with him too, right? His entry was from choral music, right? So, you know, you hear all these different versions. That jazz fella who likes his, he likes his blues, likes his jazz, might now love Blind Guardian because just how versatile their music is, you know?
Yeah, when you talk to like just long-time fans, people always ask each other, oh, how you first met Blind Guardian? And you hear so many different stories. And I'm really sure that what you just said is totally true. People will years from now, we will meet people at concert and say, hey, how did you first heard about them? So, yeah, there was this contest and I heard this really wacky version. And I was like, let's listen to the real stuff. And it was like a strike of genius for them. And I bet they didn't know it will turn out so great, you know. I can't believe they thought like, oh, there will be all this creative coming. They probably were like, oh, let's see what happens, you know. Let's just let's just give it a try. And in the end, it was perfect. It was lovely, man.
I couldn't have summed it up better myself, man. Honestly, it's been a great year from a fan to be a Blind Guardian fan. Honestly. And if I'm going to the number 2 slot, I mean, like I could talk about the contest all day as well, but I'm really excited for number 2 on our list here. And that is the new releases from Blind Guardian. We got 2 of them. I want to save the best for last. So the first one I want to pick up is Merry Christmas, Everybody. For those of you not familiar, it's a Slade cover. They released it kind of as a surprise test. Like there was no real warning that they were going to release something, just like we might have a Christmas surprise. And you're like, oh, what's that? Boom. All of a sudden we get a cover, right? And honestly, it went instantly in my rotation. Like as far as
exactly.
Christmas stuff. It got in the mood, right? What are your thoughts on that? What did you get from all that, Mario?
As you just said, it was a real surprise. We were just expecting, okay, a Christmas surprise is gonna be another tune, like they did, like those little comics they did for 2 years, something like that. We weren't expecting a cover song, and I must say, I gotta be honest. At first, I hated it. Yeah, At first, the first time I listened to that, because I'm not into Christmas or Christmas music and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, okay. So finally they did it. They made a song I don't like. So that's it. But then,
it was
like,
written by somebody else, so at least it wasn't.
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, it was them. They were playing, so I was like, yeah, it's not that cool. But then, like hours later, it was like, oh, there's a video too. And then when I watched, the whole thing clicked, and I got it. Man, you were taking this thing all too serious. You know, they're having fun. They're enjoying themselves. You know, and then I understood the joke. You know, and I understood that it was perfect. And what they did, and it was like when the exact opposite of that, and I started to love that, because I could really understand that they were like, man, we had a terrible year. The end, it's about to end. Let's have fun a little bit. Let's bring a little bit of joy to people. Let's not take everything so serious. You know, we have all this hard news all the time, all these problematic things, you know. And Blind Guardian songs, even though we really love them, they tend to have like just really complex things and layers of different meanings. And you know, we still talk a lot about Beyond the Red Mirror to fully understand the concept behind. And then it's like, okay, it's not the time to release something like that. It's not the time to release something deep. We just have some fun. Wear the weakest, the wackiest costume we can find. You know, let's have some fun. Let's have a blast. And it was perfect to me. I started laughing. I started to play this nonstop on my TV, you know. And how you felt when you saw the video?
Yes, it's totally, it's all about bringing happiness and bringing joy. And it's, you know, it's you're right. We're not talking about an epic 10-minute long song. We're not talking about Wheel of Time, where we've got, you know, classic instruments, you know, traditional instruments and you know, millions of layers and, you know, all this complex stuff that really makes you think both musically and, you know, conceptually what's going on in the story. It was a simple one for, you know, something to kind of take the edge off of a year. For a lot of people, that was hard, and it's statistically proven that the holiday season is some of the hardest times for everybody.
Yes.
So to release it at this time, I think it was amazing. Honestly, before I'd heard this, I didn't even know it was a Slade cover. I thought it was kind of interesting. I'm like, I hadn't heard. Like, I didn't think this sounded really like Blind Guardian. And I found out it was a Slade cover. I'm like, okay, that makes a little more sense. But it came at a time to lift people's spirits, and it's just classic Bard magic. You know what I mean? It was classic Blind Guardian. Absolutely fantastic. Like you said, if you got to look at it more of something to just bring joy and, a little bit of positivity and humor, like the video showed, right?
Exactly.
The thing I do think was complex and was really truly powerful was the next release, or the first release we got from this year, Violent Shadows. Mario, this is probably where the bulk of the conversation is coming from, my friend. Tell me your thoughts on it.
First of all, it was like a punch in the face, because we were already listening to WWW and stuff. Oh, it's a new song. What? They don't do that. I saw that thing happen once in '98 when they played Harvest of Sorrow. It was they were like, it was an acoustic concert, kind of acoustic. Some plugged songs, and there's a new song, Harvest of Sorrows, and people, yeah. But it was like 20 years ago. We weren't expecting them to do anything like this. We haven't heard of them doing anything like this, like in a long time. And then out of nothing, they like, let's just play this song live, and it's a new song. And it doesn't sound live. We know it's live because we saw when they were playing that. But it was so well performed. Hansi in his vocals, and we know like the vocal part is the hardest to reproduce live. And he put so much in performing this perfectly. And we were like, oh my God. So they're really doing this? Like, as you said, this whole year was packed of surprises, of great things, and this is like one of the to me is the bigger one, Like I couldn't expect that, and I really loved it. I really loved it. The whole song, as you mentioned, it's still about the Stormlight Archive, based on that. So we know the band is really hyped about this book. There's some songs on DW3, Demons and Wizards 3, based on the same book. So Hansi is really hyped about this right now. And after this first initial shock of listening to it, I remember I was watching it live, and we had some other friends on this Zoom call too, and we were like, what new song? What's happening? But after that, when they properly released this as a single, as a digital single with our cover, and then the merch for that artwork is fantastic. And we could pay more attention to that. Man, it's such a I don't care about Blind Guardian going back to the roots. I believe they should play whatever they feel. So I don't feel it's not 100% back to the roots, Blind Guardian, but it's Blind Guardian looking upon all they did and saying, let's do some really strong, fast speed metal song, like no orchestral stuff, like let's just do raw heavy metal. And they delivered that.
It's one of those things I can honestly say that I haven't been so drawn to a song instantly in forever. And you're right, like complete surprise, just watching Vakian, and we'll get to that as well. But, just watching the show and to have it just announced, because it's like when you think of going to a live show, you always wonder, it's Blind Guardian, that they're going to do amazing at it live, but you always wonder, will this song get played live? Because is it too complex? And how will it sound? Will the vocals be changed just a bit lower so that he can save his voice for the rest of the show? We know right now, because that was that was the fourth song, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure that was four songs into it.
Yeah, probably so, 4 or 6.
4, yeah, something like that. Somewhere it was pretty early on, but it was still like after several songs into it, and a lot of which the energy was kept up on that. But I think it's really a good omen. I think that it shows how much they really love the genre and how versatile they are as musicians. Because honestly, I mentioned to you before we were recording, I almost like it. It's aggressive enough that it could have almost fit on one of the first three.
Yes.
I think I mentioned Tales from the Twilight World, but Follow the Blind. It could have fit on any of those. But the difference is that with Charlie as the producer instead of Cullen, it changes it entirely. They could have done something like, how they were building orchestrally like they were up until Beyond the Red Mirror. We would have been happy with something like that. But to play something like this, to just kind of go back to that bare roots, but keep the power that they normally have as Blind Guardian is just incredible. It's the perfect melody and just absolutely was on my playlist all the time. It fit right in there,
and you nailed when you said it will be on Tales from the Twilight World. You can hear that whole riff. It sounds so much like Alder 4 or Tommy Knockers,
Yes.
But it doesn't at the same time,
It's got all the trademarks of their early years, but it's bringing it with the expertise of the modern Blind Guardian, which I think Frederick is a huge part of as well, right? I mean, with his technical drumming, it's a lot different in feel,
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yes. And it's awesome to show. We know we have those kind of Blind Guardian fans that say, "Oh, the band is now not the same after Nightfall" and stuff like that. We heard that a lot. We're sick of those kind of people saying these things all the time, and this was like a message to them. See, it's still us. We're still playing the same thing, and it doesn't matter. And what I really love is that the previous release to Violent Shadows was a whole album with no guitars, and we can go from this to this, and in this Blind Guardian all the way around.
Absolutely. And I think, what I would say to those people that are all like, oh, well, it's not been the same since Nightfall. Tell me how Nightfall is the same as, Somewhere Far Beyond. Tell me how, Battalions of Fear and Tales from the Twilight World are the same. Tell me how A Twist in the Myth and At the Edge of Time, and they're probably the most, I'm trying to think of how far the release is from that. That one was only, I guess that one was a little longer than, but you know what I mean? Wildly different. Every album of Blind Guardians is unique. From their early days, they've always put a special spin on each album they do. They have it carefully thought out. It's never going to be Nightfall, because Nightfall was one of those concepts. It's not anything that should be new. If you actually are a fan of Blind Guardian, you should be able to appreciate how versatile their music is. It's, you listen to them so you don't have to get bored. Anybody can listen to, like a Slayer or a Metallica or something and get the same thing they want to hear. You know what I mean? But they, to some extent, they're like, oh yeah, it's never gonna Exactly, right? It's oh yeah, well the Rust in Peace era was the best era of Megadeth. But yeah, okay, but how much versatility is there between Killing Is My Business all the way up to now, right? There's some difference, different guitars, different sounds, all that, but it's not like Blind Guardian. They completely reinvent every album what they sound like. That's their strength. One of the major strengths, one of the ways that they never get boring is they always change it up.
And that's when you realize that, when you notice that, really, that that they're not playing this because it's their work. They're not just feeling scared. Okay, we gotta release a new album from this time to time. They're really like, okay, how do we feel right now? And I don't know. One of those extra little bits of surprise Blind Guardian did for us this year was those Q&As they did on video. Those little Q&As, because that's the thing. They felt like we wanted to connect to the fans throughout this hard year. So they were really active on social media and doing all those things. They weren't trying to engage to new things, new fans or anything like that. They just wanted to show us that they were there, and feel this energy, to share this with the fans and talk to us They talked to us like a billion times. There was live videos, there were Q&As, there was like Ask Me Anything. There were, so in one of those videos, one of those guys asked about, oh, there's a chance to do a new Nightfall or to end Nightfall because it ends on the battle of number tiers, something like that, and then you have like a little bit more a book to the end to Aaron Dill and stuff like that. And Andre, when he explains why it will be hard, it sums it up what he said, because he says like, okay, for me to make more of Nightfall, I got to be on that vibration, that spiritual moment again. And it's not that. It's like I cannot answer how I would answer when I was 15. I'm a different person, so I can go back to that just because it will be nice. Okay, there's a lot of things they can make. They will probably love to do that, and you can see that when Andrea says, "Oh, maybe we can make something like that," and Hansi opens like a big smile, like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting him to say that." Like, go back to that video. You'll have a lot of fun watching just Hansi's face. He's like, and yeah, it's hard. This is not gonna happen because you have to be in this mindset and stuff, but it can happen. And you see like Hansi doing like. Like, oh my God! Just say yes. I'm ready.
Don't encourage them.
But but that's the thing with Blind Guardian is how the whole band and a whole like a spiritual thing. Where are they now? And their song, their music comes out because of that. You cannot just force them to make the same songs they used to make. They can't make that. They make what they really want to make and what comes from their heart. That's the best thing about this band. Everything comes from the heart,
Well said, man. And, Violent Shadows, being one of the, like, going back to that whole concept of it being one of the huge things of the year. And like you said, totally different, right? They aren't repeating stuff. Violent Shadows is how we got to that. And honestly, I think the number one spot, easily that could have been the number one spot, was the new music we got this year. But honestly, I think the way we have to end this list is the live shows. They only played, 4, I think, last year, if you include Vakken, because they did the 2 for the
Three, I guess. And it was
Castle.
It was the first, Bergling, the Castle concert.
Yeah.
And then there was the other was the Zoo concert.
Right, on the 25th and 26th, I think, last year, right?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact dates, but it was like prior to the whole pandemic thing started. So it was January, February, something like that. And then, of course, the best thing, Vakken.
So let's talk about Vakken, because I really want to hear your thoughts on that. I think I might have some controversial thoughts on it all. So I'm going to start with you on that one, man. What are your thoughts about Vakken? Tell me all about what you loved about that.
Well, first of all, it was Blind Guardian. They were there playing live, and it was if they charge us to see that, I would totally pay for it, because I know they have to make money and they have like the whole structure of people working for them. They need to feed themselves, but it was 100% free concert, so you had extra that, and even though it was kind of weird to see like those fake audience and the fake fires and stuff, they had so much fun. It was like it was in that concert that the greatest Marcus meme was created, that when he shouts yeah, and it's so nice to see like they were really having fun. They were really enjoying it. Like Hansi, even without a whole a lot of people there watching, probably was like 5 to 6 people only in the studio. He still had to talk to the audience because he knew we were there. He was talking to us, and of course, it's never going to be the same. I would love to be in Vakken watching them and with all these people around me. but still it was really fun, and they had to go up to 11 when they brought Violent Shadows, because they knew people were like, oh, okay, let's watch, it's gonna be nice, but not that. But one cool thing that I noticed watching some what people posted about it, that a lot of friends like who live nearby just gather around to watch. So people had their little festivals there, like with beers and other drinks and pools and whatever they could make to enjoy themselves. So it was fun. It was awesome actually. The playing, the set list was really heavy. They they nailed it. Like it was in some sort of way like Blind Guardian's Live Age, when Queen had like just limited time, they had to go there and nail. They went there and like in the head all the time.
Absolutely. No, I could see that connection for sure. If I was gonna share my thoughts on that, I would say, it's well documented for those of you that are on the page, and those of you that have seen a couple of my previous videos. I wasn't the hugest fan of the light crowd. You know what I mean? I wasn't a huge. For me, there's a couple things that make this show fantastic. I mean, I saw it, I watched it with everybody. I was just as shocked to see Violent Shadows announced. It's great because it had a great set list for one. We have Majesty, we have like just a bunch of great tracks, that you'd expect to see from it. So it was like, although it was not a, wasn't being at a live show, it had that live atmosphere because you had Majesty, you had a whole bunch of stuff that normally they would play at a live show. I'm glad they did it, because it's not just, Wacken. It wasn't just like they decided, oh, we're going to play the best of Blind Guardian or the best of Ronnie James Dio at a discount. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't that. My issue is entirely from the fact maybe if I had had people around, it would have been a lot different, but I just felt very disconnected. Like I was very aware I was watching footage. The giant Wacken banner that dwarfed the stage that was computer generated, and the people made of light, it all very much took me out of the element. I think that, like you said, there's a lot of reasons to love that concert. It was free. It was, it was a bonding moment for a lot of fans. It came out with new music, great set list, great band. For me, it was a little bit of a harder one, although I still think it was equally as important, because I was starved for a live show by the time WWW came around. It was something nice to do it, and maybe it was just my headspace where I was at the time, but for me, it was not. It was hard, right? For that reason, I guess is what I'd say. I'm not knocking Wacken. I loved that they did something with it. I loved what came from it. For me, it felt disconnected. There was no other way for them to do it. There wouldn't have been any other way for them to do it. But for me, it just was. It wasn't the same. And I know it's not supposed to be the same, but it took me right out of that element for it.
Yeah, I know. So, I totally understand you. To me, it's like the best lemonade they could ever make, because they had a lot of lemons in their hands.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah. And also, I probably, now that it's said, I remember why I didn't feel like you felt, and probably that happened because a few friends we did like this Zoom call, and we were all seeing the concert together, and that wouldn't be enough. But then we decided to make a drinking game. So I must say that like by half of the concert, and there was some rules that felt really really smart at first, but after we were like, what the were we thinking? Like when we said like, oh, every time like Hansi does this, oh, every time someone says mirror, or and we were like, oh my god, we have to drink again and again and again. It was really bizarre that I had a hangover from an online concert,
Had to call in sick. Sorry, boss, I was up late at the concert. What concert?
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
so that was this little thing that changed things, But I totally understand you. And as I said, it was a lemonade, they did what they could.
That's it, right? I mean, they did, like you said, they did the best with what they could. There was no easy answer to this. The other options all would have been much worse, because either we get a compilation or they just cancel it. Like what's the other option, right? They can only do a live stream version. I think that the crowd, the choice of crowd was a poor choice in my opinion, but I also understand why they did it. It was a stylistic thing. It was a stylistic thing, and it was more of a fantasy element, I guess. So I can appreciate it. And hearing what you're saying from the Zoom call, and having that sense of community with it probably would have changed my opinion of it too. I mean, it absolutely changed yours, right? So I could totally understand that. Of course, Vakken wasn't the only show that we got last year. There was the Krefeld Zoo show, which, for people that don't know, what happened was Krefeld, where the band is from in Germany, had a zoo, and there was a fire on New Year's Eve, and it burnt down the primate enclosure and killed almost all the animals in it. So it was a huge tragedy. And Blind Guardian got together, and they helped raise over 20,000 euros that all went straight to the zoo, and which is incredible when you think about it. Their set list is eerily similar to Castle Linn, Berlin.
Yes.
Berlin. Which makes sense, because it was such short notice, you know what I mean, that they had to prepare for it. It's actually after that show. But yes. I don't know about you, Mario, maybe you have access to it. I haven't found any live footage of the zoo show.
Yeah, me neither. Probably some photos of some really small videos. But yeah, only snippets of it. Mm-hmm. But the other one, the burgling, we have like almost it in full, like in YouTube. Our friend Dave uploaded it all,
But the Berglin show, the Castle show,
it was also a fundraiser, that concert too was sort of a fundraiser, even though because that place is like, it's not that they were raising funds for that, but it was happening a whole fair or something like that, and Blind Guardian was one of the attractions. So you weren't buying tickets for Blind Guardian, you were buying tickets to enjoy the whole thing happening there. And that was because Hansi and Andre, after Legacy of the Darklands, because they recorded some of the sound effects and gave all this atmospheric thing, re-recording some audios there. And they were like, we have this great historical landmark here in our city. And they had like the administration of the place, like, were so nice and friendly to just use this place. And they were like, we have to give them back something. So it was some sort of way to show people, to bring people to Bergling, to know more about the castle. So they all did great things.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because for me, this was the best show of the year. If I could have traveled to it, I would have. We're talking about, it's not just Blind Guardian. Obviously, Blind Guardian is amazing, but if you watch the footage of that, they actually do it within the castle itself. The acoustics are amazing. They play an acoustic set. They have a huge tapestry behind them. It's an intimate venue with only 200 people, but all day. Marcus Heitz, of course, the guy who collaborated, the author, who's not only an amazing, great selling author, for his fantasy novels, but also, collabed for Legacy of the Darklands story, since 2010. Does readings from his, several fantasy authors doing readings from theirs. They had, I think it was like 6 separate RPG tabletop games, that you could go and play. So you could go and spend a day just completely engrossed in the atmosphere of fantasy, and end it with the bards playing in an authentic venue. That was actually complete immersion. Like, I can't say enough good stuff about this. It led to some great versions of Past and Future Secrets. The Lord of the Rings version there is one of the best live versions I've heard. You know, I'm not sure if you agree with me on that one, but
yeah, totally.
Absolutely. It was one of those things where it's like, if ever there was a time to go and travel to Germany for it, that show, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. I'm so jealous to everyone who got a chance to see it. Congratulations, you know.
Really,
what are your
was amazing. Yeah, it was exactly what you said. I really love it, and also they play Nightfall in acoustic version that is not a common thing to hear. Even though it's already a little slow tempo song, but it fits perfectly, and I really loved it. If I could, like, even if somehow I could be at the stage for Wacken, I would rather go at the Berlin and be there with everybody. So it's like for a really hard year that was about to come, it gave us a little strength, you know, like it warmed our souls for this year to come. Like, okay, we're here, we're all together in this, you know. And I really love the intimacy of that small place. I really love to travel to see Blind Guardian. It's not just because I want to see them as much as possible, but to go to smaller places, because I live in a really big city, so like me and everybody else, you know, in a concert. But when you get the chance to go to a smaller place and feel the band playing, like, and giving their energy the same as if they were playing like in Wacken for hundreds of thousands of people, it's magical, you know. So I totally agree with that. Like, if I had to choose one special moment for the whole year, it will be like right in the beginning when they played the Bergman.
I hope that, you know, some of the people that saw it, that would have been their last concert they saw before everything closed down, because there's no way you can top that. There's no better way to end off. In my opinion, the last year of concerts, everything leading up to it, there was not a single show that I'm aware of that even came close to the atmosphere and the immersion and the magic that you can even see on film with the fan footage of Bergman, like Castle Lynn, whatever you want to call it, like, just absolutely fantastic. And easily you can see why the live shows made our #1 on this list, because honestly, it was, some of them were done before this all happened, some of them were done during this, you know, the crazy year we had, but man, every one of them was special in their own right, you know. As far as honorable mentions go, I personally would have to say I was a big fan of seeing the return to the limited edition shirts to come out. One they did through Journey Through the Dark, and that sort of thing. I don't know if you got any honorable mentions, Mario. Do you have anything like that you think should have made the list?
No, I wouldn't change anything in that list, but I will mention, as I already said, the Q&A and the whole social media interaction they had. And I think that is awesome, because whenever Blind Guardian is recording a new album, it's always those distance moments where you don't get many news from the band, and they really working hard on filling those gaps for us to really feel closer to them, even at those reclusive moments when they're very close at the studio, just recording and doing this. No, let's just talk to the fans. Let's just do whatever we can, like Q&A. Let's do the contest. Let's do whatever just for us to keep in touch, you know. And that's great. That's great. That's my extra, my
the honorable mention. Yeah. Well, Mario, thank you so much for coming on, my friend. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we head out?
I just want to thank you again for having me. I really love the show, and I'm really happy to be able to participate a little bit, to help a little bit with this and that. And whenever you need me, if I can be of any help, just being here, talking to you, or just whatever you need me, just call, okay?
The feeling's mutual, my friends, and this will not be the last time you hang out in this Twilight hole. But with that, this closes another chapter in podcast from the Twilight world. Obviously, we'd like to thank the fantastic Mario Bernardo for coming on and sharing his insights and bringing in, a little late for all of us, but bringing in 2021 the right way. We hope so much, guys, that you guys had, a positive change this year, or at least your mindset has been shifted. Hopefully you can see some of the positives that came out last year. I know it's not the easiest thing, it definitely, but if you liked what you saw, check out our other episodes. Hit like and subscribe if you're on YouTube, whether you're watching this on Apple Podcasts, Chromecast, whether you're watching this anywhere, Spotify, however you get your music. Let's leave it to the memories and kiss the wind goodbye. Thank you, my friends.
Podcasts from the Twilight world would like to thank Acoustic Guardian for providing the breathtaking cover of And Then There Was Silence, my wife April Bell for designing the cool crest and logo for the podcast, and of course all the bards from the Twilight world, and those listening, thank you.